Key point 1 unfolds through the emotional contrast between expectation and reality, beginning with the soldier's mindset as he returns home earlier than planned. After months of deployment, long nights, harsh conditions, and constant uncertainty, he has been holding onto one source of comfort, the thought of reuniting with his fiancée. Every letter she wrote, every memory of her, and every imagined moment of coming home kept him steady during the darkest parts of his service. For him, homecoming isn't just a physical return. It is the emotional reset he believes he's earned after sacrificing his peace and safety for months. As the plane lands and boots touch familiar ground again, he feels a surge of excitement and relief that is almost overwhelming. For the first time in a long while, he feels like things will finally fall back into place. He doesn't even tell her he's coming home early, imagining the joy on her face when she sees him standing in the doorway unexpectedly. That anticipation becomes the engine driving his every step back home, creating a bright emotional momentum that makes what comes next even more devastating. With every mile he gets closer, the warmth inside him grows stronger. He imagines her running into his arms, the two of them laughing, crying, and holding each other after so long apart. He pictures cooking in their kitchen again, sleeping in his own bed, feeling normal for the first time in months. His heart is full, and the silence on the drive home feels peaceful rather than lonely. The uniform he wears, even wrinkled from travel, makes him feel proud and ready to start the next chapter of their life together. This hopeful buildup is essential because it paints the emotional peak from which everything will come crashing down. When he reaches the neighborhood, he feels a familiar comfort settle in. The trees he used to drive past, the kids playing outside, the smell of the old grill from across the street. Everything reminds him that he is finally where he belongs. As he pulls up to the house, he notices something unusual. Several cars parked outside, more than usual for an ordinary afternoon. This catches his attention, but not enough to raise suspicion. He assumes maybe it's a family gathering or something his fiancée planned. But as he walks toward the backyard gate, eager to surprise her, there is an unexplainable heaviness warming in his chest. It's not fear. He doesn't even know what to fear yet. It's just intuition trying to whisper something he can't hear. He pushes open the gate quietly, expecting to see her relaxing or maybe talking to friends. Instead, what he sees rips the breath from his lungs. This moment becomes the brutal shift from excitement to devastation. The joy he imagined dissolves instantly, leaving him standing frozen, unable to understand how the homecoming he dreamed of has turned into a nightmare. The unexpected return, meant to bring happiness, becomes the first step into betrayal he never saw coming. The backyard, once a place filled with memories, instantly transforms into a battlefield of emotions the moment he steps through the gate. What he expected to be a quiet, familiar sight turns into a scene so surreal that his mind struggles to process it. Decorations hang across the fence, chairs are neatly arranged in rows, and flowers he once saw her admire are now arranged in bouquets for someone else's celebration. The air carries the scent of fresh roses mixed with soft music, playing from the speakers' music they once danced to. Each detail feels like a personal strike, not just because it represents a wedding, but because it is happening on the very ground he believed was theirs. The backyard isn't just a location, it is the heart of their shared life, the place where they planned their future, cooked meals together, laughed, and spoke about dreams. Seeing it converted into a wedding venue becomes a symbolic declaration that she has replaced him entirely. His eyes instinctively search for her, and when they finally find her, the shock deepens. She stands there in a white dress, the kind she used to describe to him during their late-night conversations. She looks almost exactly as he imagined she would on their wedding day, except she is holding another man's hand. Her smile fades into panic the second she notices him, but for the soldier it is already too late. That single moment captures the full weight of betrayal. She didn't simply move on, she rewrote their story without telling him, and she did it in a place that belonged to both of them. The backyard becomes the cruelest possible stage, not because of what it contains, but because of the memories he associates with every inch of it. The guests turn slowly, their faces shifting from confusion to disbelief. Some whisper, some stare, and some look away, unsure of how to react to this collision of two realities. The soldier stands still, feeling as if the ground itself has been pulled out from beneath him. He has faced ambushes and uncertainty during deployment, but nothing prepared him for this silent, elegant, perfectly decorated betrayal. He thought coming home early would be a blessing. Instead, it reveals the truth she tried to hide behind locked phones and vague excuses. The man standing next to her, the groom, tightens his grip on her hand defensively, as if preparing for confrontation. But the soldier is too stunned to react with anger. He simply observes, taking in the irony of everything around him. The chairs that could have been for their wedding, the flowers that resemble the ones he once bought her, the vows being prepared for someone else. The backyard amplifies his pain because it reflects what could have been, what was promised, and what was broken long before he knew it. The betrayal becomes heavier not because she moved on, but because she used his home, his space, and his memories as the foundation for a new life without him. The backyard itself becomes the ultimate symbol of disrespect, a reminder that while he was fighting for their future, she was hosting a wedding in the ruins of it. The moment his presence registers among the guests, the atmosphere shifts completely. Conversations die mid-sentence, laughter freezes, and every pair of eyes turns toward him with a mixture of shock, confusion, and discomfort. What was supposed to be a celebration suddenly becomes an emotional collision, and he finds himself standing in the center of it, uninvited, unexpected, and painfully visible. The feeling of humiliation starts quietly, like a small sting in his chest, but grows rapidly as murmurs ripple through the crowd. He never imagined his return would be witnessed this way, his heartbreak unfolding in front of strangers who have no idea what he endured or how much he sacrificed. Their expressions seem to ask questions he does not want to hear. Why is he here? Who is he? Why does he look broken? But the truth becomes obvious as soon as they observe the reaction on the bride's face. His fiancée, now dressed as a bride for another man, does not step toward him. She does not look relieved, guilty, or remorseful. Instead, her expression is one of sheer panic, the type that appears when a carefully constructed lie collapses in public. She glances quickly at the guests, her new groom, and back at the soldier, as if trying to control a situation that has already spun out of her hands. Her fear of judgment becomes painfully obvious, and the soldier realizes she is not ashamed of what she has done. She is ashamed of being caught doing it. This realization intensifies his humiliation. It is not just personal betrayal anymore, it is the public exposure of how little his loyalty meant to her. Guests begin whispering more openly, their voices a mixture of confusion and gossip. Some guests seem sympathetic, looking at the soldier with pity, while others appear uncomfortable, shifting in their seats as though they wish they hadn't witnessed the truth behind the beautiful. When the quiet forces you to ask difficult questions, why not wanting to be part of the emotional wreckage unfolding before them? The soldier, who has faced combat zones filled with chaos, finds this moment far more suffocating. On the battlefield, enemies are clear. Here, he cannot understand who is on his side, who knew about the betrayal, and who silently accepted it. The groom's stance becomes aggressive, as if he believes the soldier's presence is an attack rather than a devastating coincidence. He steps protectively in front of the bride, trying to shield her from judgment or perhaps from the consequences of her own choices. His defensive posture only intensifies the soldier's embarrassment. Another man feels entitled to protect her from him, despite everything he has endured for her sake. The soldier feels like an intruder in a space he once considered his own. But the worst part of this humiliation is the unspoken narrative forming among the guests. They have witnessed his heartbreak in real time. They have seen the way his face crumbled when he recognized the woman he loved preparing to marry someone else. They have seen the vulnerability he never intended to reveal. He cannot hide it or walk away without confirming their assumptions, that he was betrayed, replaced, and forgotten. This moment becomes a painful public judgment, not because anyone says anything directly, but because everyone sees. The humiliation lingers in the air, heavy and suffocating, making him feel stripped of dignity in a way the battlefield never could. He came home hoping to reclaim normalcy, but instead he stands as a spectacle of heartbreak, forced to confront the truth in front of an audience who will remember this moment far longer than he wants them to. The moment of confrontation begins not with shouting, but with a heavy silence that stretches across the backyard like a storm cloud. The soldier stands there, still in his uniform, dust from travel still clinging to his boots, and yet the weight pressing down on his chest feels heavier than anything he carried during deployment. His fiancée takes a hesitant step forward, her eyes flickering with guilt, fear, and a desperate attempt to control the narrative. She forces a trembling smile and tries to speak, as if the situation could somehow be explained away with a few soft words. But nothing about this moment can be softened. The betrayal is too large, too vivid, too undeniable. When she finally opens her mouth, her voice comes out shaky, pleading rather than apologetic. She begins offering excuses, how she thought he wouldn't return for months, how loneliness consumed her, how she made decisions she now regrets. But her words feel rehearsed, as if she had prepared them long before this day, just in case her secret ever came to light. Each syllable she utters only deepens his heartbreak. It becomes clear she did not act on impulse. She built a new relationship, planned a new future, and organized a wedding, all while he was risking his life for a future she no longer intended to share with him. The groom steps in, his tone defensive and confrontational. He claims she told him the soldier was gone, emotionally unavailable or distant. He accuses the soldier of abandoning her, of leaving her alone for too long. These accusations hit hard, not because they hold any truth, but because they twist the soldier's sacrifice into blame. The same duty that kept him awake at night, the same service that nearly killed him, is being framed as the reason she betrayed him. The twisted logic stings, revealing the groom's insecurity and the fiancée's willingness to lie to protect her new life. The guests watch silently, some horrified, others awkwardly avoiding eye contact. Their presence intensifies the confrontation, turning it into a harsh, unforgiving spotlight. The soldier tries to maintain composure, but anger, sadness, and disbelief churn violently inside him. He wants answers, real answers, not convenient justifications. He wants to understand when she stopped loving him, when the promises she made became empty, and why she didn't have the courage to tell him the truth before all of this. But each question he asks only brings more confusion, more contradictions, more words that do nothing but reopen wounds. His fiancée breaks down, crying, reaching out to him as if seeking the comfort she once depended on. But her tears no longer move him, they feel like a performance, a reaction to being exposed rather than remorse for what she did. Her attempts to grab his hand, to make him understand, only push him further into a painful clarity. This is not the woman he fought so hard to return to. The trust he once cherished has shattered beyond repair, and no explanation can undo the image of her in a wedding dress beside another man. In this moment, he faces a choice: explode with rage, demand justice, or reclaim his dignity by walking away. The pressure is intense, but deep inside, something shifts. He realizes that staying in this confrontation any longer will only give more power to those who hurt him. The breaking point becomes a moment of clarity, not about fighting back, but about letting go. He understands that the battle is already lost, but his self-respect doesn't have to be. And with that understanding, he prepares to make the most important decision of his emotional life, to step away from the chaos and reclaim the pieces of himself she never deserved to break. The aftermath of the betrayal becomes the silent turning point in his life, even though it doesn't feel that way at first. When he walks out of the backyard, leaving behind the woman he once loved, the home he once cherished, and the future he once believed in, he carries a pain deeper than any physical wound he's taken. In service, at first, the heartbreak consumes him. The shock, the humiliation, the disbelief replay in his mind like a cruel loop he can't escape. The nights become long and restless, filled with questions that have no satisfying answers. But even in the middle of this emotional wreckage, something inside him refuses to break completely. He has survived war zones, loneliness, and the constant threat to his life. He will survive this too, even if the healing doesn't come easily. In the weeks that follow, he begins rebuilding, not outwardly at first, but internally. He distances himself from the places and memories tied to her, seeking peace in routines that ground him. Early morning runs help clear his mind, giving him moments where his breath steadies and pain dulls. He reconnects with old military friends who understand the struggle of carrying unseen burdens. Talking to them brings a sense of brotherhood and stability that he desperately needs. They remind him of who he was before the betrayal: strong, disciplined, honorable, and who he still has the potential to become. Slowly, he begins to shift his focus from the woman who broke him to the man he wants to be. He starts investing time into his career again, rediscovering his sense of purpose. The structure of military discipline becomes a comfort rather than a reminder of distance, giving him control in a life that recently felt chaotic. He takes on new assignments, pushes through training, and channels the hurt into something productive. Every achievement becomes a step further away from the version of himself who stood frozen in that backyard. He begins to realize that the betrayal, while devastating, is also liberating. It frees him from the illusion of a relationship that wasn't real for a long time. It pushes him towards strength, resilience, and emotional clarity he may never have found otherwise. Slowly, his world expands again. He meets people who value him, who see his loyalty as something precious instead of something to exploit. He forms new friendships, rebuilds trust in small, steady steps, and begins to understand that the end of one chapter doesn't have to be the end of his capacity to love or be loved. Whether or not he finds romance again immediately isn't the point. The point is that he rediscovers self, worth independent of someone else's choices. Months later, when he thinks back to the day he found her marrying another man, the pain is still there, but it no longer controls him. It no longer defines him. Instead, it stands as a reminder of how far he's come. He didn't crumble. He didn't lose himself. He transformed. The betrayal becomes the catalyst that pushed him into a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of himself. He learns that sometimes the most devastating losses lead to the most powerful rebirths, and that walking away from the wrong person is often the first step toward toward becoming exactly who you were meant to be?